Today in The Art of Making, we will tell you how to cook fermented dairy food kurt. We will visit a workshop of Zhanna Djanayeva. We will learn about useful properties of pottery. This small white ball is one of the most beloved products of the people of Central Asia. But it's not sweet, as you might have thought first. It tastes salty and sour at the same time. Those who try it for the first time may find its taste strange and may not even like it. However, this is only the first impression. It's a kurt, dried fermented dairy product. It was invented by the nomadic people of Central Asia. It's very nutritious, contains numerous beneficial elements, and most importantly, does not spoil for a long time. According to some claims, it can be stored for more than 5 years. It's very convenient, it does not take a lot of space, it's difficult to get dirty with it, and you can take it with you everywhere. In fact, that was what nomads did. And at the same time, kurt perfectly satisfies hunger. This is Joly, and today she will tell us how to cook this dairy product. In Kazakh cuisine, kurt, as well as kumis and shubat, takes a special place. I know 2 ways of preparing it. In first one, I use boiled milk. In the second one, I use raw milk. Most often, kurt is prepared from a cow's milk, less often from goat's milk. Joly says that the fat content in milk is important, as the taste and look of the future kurt depends on it. It may take several days to prepare this fermented dairy product. First, the milk gets rusty, then for more than a day, it is creamed. It's necessary for milk weight to flow out. After that, salt is added to remaining mass, which looks like a cottage cheese. Then you can start shaping kurt. It all depends on the imagination. Bigger balls, smaller balls, rhombuses, and cubes. Now the finished figures need to be dried. It's better to dry it for a few days outdoors by putting it on a flat surface. The important thing is not to overdo it, otherwise it will become hard like a stone. The perfect kurt is one that you can easily bite off. That's all, kurt is ready. Now you know how this dairy delight is made, and you can try to cook it yourself. We believe you'll like it. Making dolls can be called an art in itself. And a special direction in this form of art is the creation of designer dolls. The image of each doll is thought out to the last details, from its outfits and headgears to the color of eyes and mimic. Designer dolls are becoming a unique element of the interior. It gives it a certain uniqueness. And they are not intended for play, but for contemplation. Today, we invite you to immerse in the hard-working process of creating these masterpieces. We start out quite simply from the eyes. For my dolls, I use glass eyes. Why do I use glass? Because plastic, Cernit, which is a polymer clay, are beautiful materials which give a feeling of real skin, but they don't have a shine. Besides, they are heavy enough, therefore, they are not suitable for dolls. We determine the size of the doll. If you want to make a doll of 60-70 centimeters, the eye should be about 12 millimeters. And here on the basis of the doll's size, we will calculate the size of the head.
Затем формируется вот из фольги, обычной фольги совершенно формируется.
Then we form the skull. It's made of a plain foil. That's the basis. In fact, a doll is like a sculpture. Then we put Cernit on this very skull and insert the eyes. And the doll, however, it's not a doll yet, but only a blank, is sent for baking. It is baked in a conventional oven.
Она запекается в обычной духовой печи.
After baking, I get this kind of basis of my dolls. It doesn't look very beautiful, but it is the basis for what will happen next. Equipped with Cernit, designer continues to work on the formation of the face. This process requires accuracy and patience.
Процесс лепки.
I start the process of sculpturing from a forehead and gradually finish the whole face. And already from cheekbones and cheeks, it depends on what I want to see. Of course, a face of any person has its own features, and I try to reflect it on dolls and observe not only anatomy but also express some temper and mood.
Какой-то характер, какое-то настроение.
After a face finds its real outline, it's time for painting.
Я, например, крашу не акрилом, а крашу.
For example, I use not acrylic, but oil paints. As modern girls would say, it's a makeup. In other words, that's all what is applied and colored. Eyelashes are glued, they're also natural. It's all handmade. We give it a natural look. There is a specialist from Russia who makes eyes manually. They're extraordinary, similar to humans. Hair is implanted. If a doll is big and if there is a voluminous hair, they're natural, and so there is an illusion of hair growth.
Действительно, полная иллюзия того, что они растут сами. Затем мы делаем руки и ноги.
Then we make hands and legs. Here, for example, this big doll is painted and ready. Hands are attached to it, the base is made of foil and the same base is created. Then I sculpture hands, fingers, and it's baked for the second time.
Потом вылепливаются ручки, пальчики. Все это и делается второй запек.
At the next stage, the doll's body is assembled.
Внутри куклы металлический каркас.
Inside the doll, there is an armature to which hands, legs, and head are assembled, and the body itself we usually make from felt.
Для чего это делается? Почему? Потому что цернит достаточно тяжелый материал.
What is it made for? Cernit is a heavy material. If we make the whole doll out of it, let's say 1 meter 20 centimeters, it will be too heavy to lift, as if it is made of stone.
Каркасы для кукол обычно.
The doll armature is usually made of metal, depending on the height of the doll, and the size of the wire is selected quite strictly, because static is primarily valued in statue dolls. And if any parts of the doll is moving, it is considered to be a defect.
Если у кукол какие-то части подвижны, то считается брак.
It should be really like a statue, hence the name of it is a statue doll.
Существует такой момент, что, например, если кукла...
There is another point, especially if the doll is big. We don't always make removable clothes. This is a statue doll. Its hands and legs don't move, and it's difficult to take off its clothes, and you don't really need to. So we often form shoes on our foot at once. It's natural leather. Shoes are made exactly as for a human. It is pulled on the mold, heated, dried, and glued.
Натягивается, высушивается, проклеивается.
Everything is made of natural materials. Why? Because no synthetic leather, no non-natural materials can handle our manufacturing process. Besides, the genuineness of the material gives a feeling of a warmth, naturality, environmental friendliness, something that we very much strive for. In addition, aesthetic perception. Dolls are painted by hand. That's why they look lifelike. It takes about 2 months to work on each of them, but the result is worth it.
Это кукла Шалпан. Она сделана в национальном костюме.
This doll's name is Chopin. It is wearing a national suit.
Костюм, не тот костюм, который у нас.
I wanted to show a realistic costume, not the one that we usually imagine.
То есть, походив по музеям, посмотрев книги,
Walking through the museums, reading books, I realized that we live in such an extraordinary place with the Silk Road past, and it gave our ancestors an opportunity to sew clothes from luxurious fabrics brought from Iran and China.
и Китай. Эта кукла, она представляет собой молодого человека.
This doll is inspired by Saka era.
То есть это тоже наши предки, которые были на нашей территории.
These are also our ancestors who lived on our territory. I didn't want to make it completely militarized, although there are some scars here. It's all genuine leather, natural wool. I tried to make everything authentic according to the time and the era, and that is all reflected in this doll.
Это Ясмин.
This is Yasmin. It is a Berber doll.
Это Сари. Это ручная работа.
It is sari. It's handmade, and it's an antique sari. The fabrics are color according to the image I see. It seemed to me that Berbers are exactly like this. It's Sahara, it's an orange color, it's warmth, it's a certain color of skin, and it should be such a complex and significant girl with her thoughts.
Со своими мыслями, конечно. А вот это уже такое казахское, традиционно казахская кукла в Саукиле.
And this is a traditional Kazakh doll in Saukile, which history is actually very complicated. This headgear was made for many years. Practically, as soon as a girl mastered sewing, she started sewing Saukile and preparing it for the wedding. Moreover, many Saukile were passed from generation to generation, and it was a sign of the bride's status. Often, Saukile were worn not only to the wedding, as we know now, but also before the birth of the first child.
До рождения первого ребенка.
This doll was created specifically for a big celebration, for a qisuzatu, farewell of the bride. I believe that it shows parental love for children. Natural fabrics are used here. It's silk and everything is made by hands, the way it used to be made in the old days. It's all becomes old. I mean, I use special solutions to make the metal look old, so that it does not look new. It's difficult to find it according to those times, but this is how we come out of the situation.
Композиция называется «Воздушный поцелуй».
This composition is called Blown Kiss.
Ожидание чего-то нового.
Such a childhood dream is the expectation of something new and bright. In fact, we all stay children and wait for holidays, birthdays, and we just wake up in the morning and expect a beautiful day to come. And it's a feeling of air, of lightness. It's an air kiss. And here comes this girl.
И вот появилась эта девочка.
Zhanna says that for this kind of work, it's important to possess not only artistic taste, but to master material science, various types of handicrafts, to know the history of costume and design of accessories. Then you can create real masterpieces. Ready dolls amaze with their realism. They charm everyone who comes into contact with them. And it often seems like they're about to come alive and talk to us. A usual clay pitcher stores in itself fantasy, mood, and a view of life of the craftsman who puts his soul in this work. Today we will visit a pottery workshop. Here are collected items which beauty is breathtaking. To create pitchers, the master had to carefully study the composition and physical properties of clay, which he collected from all over the Kazakh land. For example, red, blue, yellow, and white clay. There is a lot of iron in the red clay, in white, lime and aluminium. You mix everything together. For example, white clay holds the shape well, but it's not plastic. It's difficult to connect the parts. It's necessary to mix it all the time. To make something out of it, you'll have to work hard. And red, on the contrary, holds the shape very bad, but collecting it is easy. This is the gift of nature. In some places you will not find clay. There is no clay, let's say, in rocky terrain. Of course, such excellent things can only be made of good clay. And one of the main stages of pitcher creation is cleaning and screening of clay. Dry clay. It needs to be dissolved well in water. It takes about 2 weeks. It's necessary to poach it and mix well all the time. We adjust to indiscrete liquid mass. Then we sift and then dry it. We remove excess moisture. Bring it to an indiscrete mass until it becomes like modeling clay. Mix and leave it in a plastic bag. It can be kept there for years. If you start drying, you can spray it with water and store it further. The next step is mixing the clay. Some potters use organic additives to improve its properties. I do not add anything in my practice. I only mix different kinds of clay. For example, I add red, gray to white clay. This is how I mix them. The more you mix, the better. It's getting perfect. The remaining lumps vanish. It turns out that in China, clay is stored for up to 100 years. Georgians, in honor of the boy's birth, make special pitchers where they store wine. They open it when a young man marries, that is from 25 to 30 years later. The useful properties of clay have been known from a long time. For example, there is a calcium in its composition, and when you work with clay, mineral substances penetrate the body through the palm of the hands. The craftsman says he would recommend children to do this kind of art. Fine motor skills are developing, and this also affects the development of mental abilities. A child learns to make decisions quickly, to create something new from something different. Children who are working with clay achieve much more than others in life. Now the craftsman starts the most important stage, giving a shape to the material. Pottery is considered an ancient craft. Archaeological findings show that this art originated in 2 millennia BC. Today, just as 1,000 years ago, everything is made by hand, but the pottery wheel has undergone transformations. Pottery wheel is a device for making pitchers. They can be mechanical. For example, our ancestors had wooden ones. They turn them with their feet. They're actually good too.
Айналдырып отырып жасаған. О да жақсы негізі. Қазір
Now pottery makers work on electric wheels. You're not distracted by anything. The main thing is to be able to use it. When it spins, you need to find the center. Those who have just started making pitchers can make them thicker. Later, it will be possible to reduce the thickness to 2 or 3 millimeters.
2 мм, 3 мм-ге дейін апаруға болады. Жұқалығын.
Pitchers can tell about their era, about the people in life during those times. In the Bronze Age, straight pitchers with a neck curved inwards and a flat bottom were common. In the Middle Ages, the shape of the dishes became more rounded and with indentations. During the same period, pottery makers began covering pitchers with glaze. Pottery dated from the Iron Age are oval or ball-shaped. When the Great Silk Road connected the cultures of the West and the East, when diplomatic and trade relations were established, dishes from other countries began to appear. But each pottery maker followed his own unique style of his native place.
Әр адам біріне бір ұқсамайды.
Because people are different, everyone has their own character, their own thoughts.
Әр адам бір-біріне қалай ұқсамайды, сол сияқты.
People's styles are different too. They never repeat.
Бір нәрсе қайталанбайды ешқашанда.
Pottery has undergone several stages of development. New forms have been created and painting techniques have developed continuously. But the drying process remained unchanged. The potters treated their work with strong responsibility.
Бұйымды жасап болғаннан кейін, кептіру.
After the pottery item is made, it is dried in different ways. It depends on the clay. Some of its types do not crack, and others may crack immediately.
Тез жарылатын тоспа топырақ болады.
They are dried in a warm place where there is no draft.
Жел соқпайтын жерге, жылы жерге қойып кептіресіз.
A warm place. The warmer the place, the faster pottery dries.
Кептіргеннен кейін оны
After 10 days of drying, it's necessary to dry it again at 300-400 degrees in the oven.
одан кейін күйдіресіз.
All moisture must evaporate. Then we do firing.
700 градус күйдіресіз.
First at 600 to 700 degrees. After the glaze is applied, we fire it again. There is a low melting, high melting, and fast melting. They reach 1000 to 1200 degrees.
Градус 1100 градус, 1200 градусқа дейін барады.
The color of dishes, its quality depends on the firing process. The higher the degree in the baking oven, the stronger the product, says the pottery maker.
8 сағатқа дейін барады.
Firing time reaches up to 8 hours.
Күйдіру уақыты.
After firing, pitchers are decorated with various patterns, geometric figures, and other images. It all depends on the pottery maker's imagination.
Глазурдан кейін
After glazing, it's possible to fire it again. Add other patterns, paper stain. If you apply such patterns, then you will have to fire it once again at 800 degrees. We fire it 3 times, and porcelain undergoes firing 5 to 6 times.
5-6-ға дейін.
Craftsmen draw inspiration from the heritage of their ancestors. The goal is to preserve and convey national traditions to the younger generation, to share the secrets of pottery with young people.
Жеті-сегіз жыл болды айналысып жүргенім әлі.
I've been doing this for 7-8 years. I don't have my style yet because I'm still searching for it. I think I'm just starting to define it.
Енді пісіп келе жатырмын ба деген ойым бар.